Hey, hi, a very good morning to all of you, and welcome to my session 11. Yeah, in this Reiki tool, as I mentioned before, during my last session, in my session 10, I did mention that in this Reiki tool, there's actually 3 symbols to be taught. Yeah. So the last session I had was I was talking about the symbol 1, and if you all can recall the symbol 1, which is chakra, and maybe I just to remind you all, this is how chakra looks like. Yeah, hopefully you all can remember, so I won't be repeating this again, but the reason I'm highlighting this now is because we will be using this to couple with the symbol 2. Yeah. So like I mentioned again, in Reiki 2, we have 3 symbols to be taught, and then we did the symbol 1, and now we're going to talk about, in this session, we're going to talk about the symbol 2. Yeah? And in Reiki 2, we are initiated to the symbol versus when we were going through Reiki 1. In Reiki 1, we are actually initiated to Reiki. Okay, so that is the main difference. Yeah, so when you're in Reiki 1, when you're initiated to the Reiki, you actually have Reiki for life. It's actually Reiki at your hand, as long as you hands-on Reiki on, hands-on Reiki on, and hands-off Reiki off. Yeah, and this Reiki 2 is where you're initiated to the symbol. Yeah. And for this session 11, I'll be talking mainly about the symbol 2, and then how we refer symbol 2 is we call it the harmonizing symbol, and in the Reiki terms we call it seiheke. Yeah, and maybe it's good for me to show you the picture first, how seiheke looks like, which sometimes along the way I will interchange the discussion and referring seiheke to symbol 2. Yeah, so this is how seiheke or symbol 2 looks like. And maybe I let you look at the picture first, but to kind of draw it, let me run through with you how this seiheke been drawn. Yeah. So if you look at this picture, right? Seiheke is made of mainly two major component, right? So one is when you start, you actually starts with this part where we call it the first stroke. Yeah. So the first stroke is you come down around 45 degrees straight, and then another about 45 degrees from here, and then vertical down, horizontal straight, and then scoop. Yeah, so this is the first part of the symbol. Yeah, so again I repeat, first the first stroke is you come down 45 degrees horizontal, come down another 45 degrees, vertical down, horizontal, and scoop. Yeah, and then on the other component is actually we call it there's three more strokes. So you look at it is you draw it slanting down. It's not a curve, it's slanting down like a tail of a bird. Okay, it's like a tail of the bird. So this is the stroke 2, and then you make it 2 hum like that, the 3 and 4. So again, I will repeat again how to draw it, right? So the first stroke for seiheke or the symbol 2 is 1, 2, 3. The first stroke. You just come down, and this is the first, and then you scoop it up, and then the second stroke is you do it like a curve. Like a slant, not a curve, a slant. Like a bird's tail, and then you have a kind of 2 hums, a scoop, and 2 hums. Yeah, okay. So this is a symbol 2, and then we call it the seiheke. Yeah, okay. So when we draw the symbol, right, you have to understand that when we draw the symbol, we have to draw it at the right, what you call the right direction, and when you draw it, you make sure that you remember the what you call the position also. So the stroke is not that you remember as an image, but you have to also remember the sequence of drawing the symbol. Yeah, and then once you draw the symbol, you chant the name 3 times. You kind of call it out 3 times, and like for example, I draw this, and then I have to say it, Seheke, Seheke, Seheke 3 times, and by chanting it 3 times, you actually activate the symbol. Yeah. So I think I mentioned that on the previous session, but I'm just repeating it again so that to make sure that we remember to chant it 3 times to activate or any of the 3 symbols that we are learning. Yeah. So and how do you draw the symbol, right? You can draw it with the hand, or you can draw it with the third eye. And in this case, you can also draw it with the tongue, but typically we focus mainly on the hand and the third eye. Yeah. And symbol, like I mentioned again, symbol, the sequence is important. I just want to repeat myself. Sequence is important, and also the stroke. Yeah. And you cannot take it as one block or one picture. Yeah, this is how we draw and activate the symbol. Yeah. So when we are using symbol 2, see symbol 2 usually, remember when I was talking about the symbol 1 previously, we are talking about chakra, right? This is a symbol 1. I won't be repeating how it's been drawn. This symbol 1, if you can recall, it has one function called activating a symbol. So when you start using a symbol 2, it always has to end with kind of, when you start drawing the symbol 2, you also have to draw the symbol 1 to activate the usage of the symbol 2. So meaning that when you do Seike, you draw Seike, 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 you have to draw the chakra, which is symbol 1, to activate the symbol 2. So meaning that you have to do a 2-1. So this symbol, what we call it, to make it workable, is called a 2-1. Yeah, 2-1 symbol. So Seike, Seike, and then chakra, yeah. So so basically, I'll run through with you, but basically when we use the symbol 2, it always go with 2-1, and there's only one scenario where you use symbol 2 by its standalone, by itself. We'll talk about it later. Yeah. So with this, I would like to take the opportunity to share the uses of Seike, and how do we use this symbol. Yeah. And maybe just for your information, right? For me personally, 2-1 is the most frequent used symbol for me. So meaning that I of course, all the symbols, the 3 symbols that you're learning today, or you're learning these 2 days, it's been my daily use. But how often or how many times do I use per day? 2-1 is the most frequent one. I think it's the favorite of most of the Reiki practitioner, and definitely it's the favorite of my of me. We call it the 2-1 symbol. Yeah, yeah. So let me share how do we use this symbol 2. Yeah. And symbol 2 are used, like I mentioned just now, is called the harmonizing symbol. So meaning that the name of the symbol already kind of give you a clue when we talk about harmonizing. Yeah. So the symbol 2, one of the first key usage is harmonizing and protection. Yeah. So if you we visualize in an environment where we want to harmonize the environment to kind of create a harmonized environment, maybe to forgive people or to dispel certain anger that is popping up, fighting along your area or within your vicinity. Could be greetings to people, harmonized greeting, give loving greetings or that. So this is part of what I call harmonizing and also protection. Yeah. So example, I give you example. In cases where I guess close to heart is daily we have our family discussion activity, and my husband being the very typical male gets with this his short temper, right? Sometimes when we start discussing stuff and then it's not getting into his way, or it's not getting to what he thought, or not getting into the flow that he wanted, and then or not getting into his direction of his discussion, and then you can see that he started to his face was started to fume up, and then you can see the anger in him. So there was one case where he was started discussing and it was not going his way, and I could feel that he was getting really frustrated, and then what I did was I used my third eye and do the 2-1 symbol into his third eye, onto his third eye, and you could see that immediately the anger or the frustration energy toned down nicely, and he turned it into a very casual joke and talking about it. It's like you could really see the difference. You can really feel the difference between him just a couple of minutes before or few seconds before, and right after when I put the symbol onto writing the symbol. So many times when I get frustrated, angry, I also forgotten, so I have to be myself, have to be calm, so that when he pull up his anger, or he put up his anger face or angry face, then I would quickly if I'm very calm, I will quickly put up my 2-1. I also remember, but at times being me also, right, I get a bit agitated and angry, and I also forgotten, once I get angry, it's the same thing, right? I will also start putting a long face and started my anger. So basically, I guess for me is first have to be calm and always remember that 2-1 is always there to harmonize the environment, and it can dispel those anger or angry energy around us and around people around us, or within our vicinity. Yeah. And I also use many times I also use, in among for the families, right, other than my husband, right? So in my house, I also have my in-laws staying with me, so my parents-in-law, and they've been with me for 20 over years, and relationship with my in-laws are not, I would term it not superb. It's not that we quarrel every day, it's not, but you could feel the disagreement and discomfort feeling, or the strain, what I would call it, the strain feeling among between me and especially my mother-in-law. So since I started practicing Reiki, right, whenever whenever she or my father-in-law, both of them, when they pass or they are very near me, or they get around my within a close vicinity with me, I will typically do a 2-1, to have to create a nice ambience, to create a nice soothing energy among three of us. I would say 3 of us, So I find that it's also very helpful, because previously I could feel a very negative strain energy whenever she walk past by, or whenever I walk past her, and then with this 2-1, it kind of reduce the strain and reduce the conflict energy, I will put it that way. So it's very, very useful. And the other also very good usage is when you get when you say goodbye to your friend, so instead of doing this, you can actually do a 2-1, give them a safe travel, and then you also feel have kind of calm for them to leave, and because you feel comfortable that they will have a good journey, so you kind of give a very harmonized and journey to them, and also send them some protection, while they are on their travel, or they are going on the journey back, right? Whether they are going for a holiday or they are going back to their hometown, So this is a good way to wave your goodbye, right? So when you put it, it will be like you draw it, you draw the Seiki, the symbol 2, and then you chant it 3 times, and then you activate it with the shokere, yeah, which is symbol 1, yeah. So yeah, this is a good way to kind of say goodbye to your friends, yeah. And another common usage for 2-1 symbol is also getting rid of negative vibes. And example, when I get to travel when I go to travel for whether work or for my personal travel, typically you get to stay in a hotel. And when you get to stay, some of the hotels, most of the hotels actually they have day in day out, many different customers come in and out, and sometimes you do not know whether the previous customer that came in and stayed in that room they bring different kind of energy. Some could be good, I'm not saying that all bad, but we wouldn't know what kind of energy. So typically when I get into the hotel room, right, the first thing I do is to do a 2-1 in all the corners of the room, yeah, to kind of harmonize the environment and also bring protection to us, yeah. First is to clear and harmonize all the negative vibes and around the room, and I'll do it at the 4 corners, and I'll still do it in the middle of the room, and then spread it around, spread it around the hotel, yeah. And I also in the bed also, I also do a 2-1. Sometimes I just do 1 to clear it, and also I do a 2-1 kind of to protect ourselves when we start putting ourselves or lying ourselves on the bed, yeah. So this is also a very good usage of 2-1, especially when you travel. So you give it a try, you will feel that you're very comfortable and very calm in the hotel room, yeah. And it's actually very useful, especially when we go on a remote, especially a remote hotels, where you feel sometimes some hotels when you walk in, you feel not, because it's old. Some hotel where it's very remote and it's old, you also feel not comfortable. This is a good way, just to protect ourselves, whether there is a previous negative energy or not, it doesn't matter, right? As long as we can give ourselves the comfort and the peace or when we are on our stay there, yeah. And the other common use for me is, as you know, I'm still working, as I mentioned, I'm still working in a corporate work, and I do have a lot of meetings with clients at their office or sometimes at my office, and a lot of negotiation calls, negotiation meetings, So typically what I do is when I get into the room, when I started my Reiki practice, right, that was before the pandemic, I do a lot of meeting on sites. So when I get to the room, before the customer comes in, or when I was heading to the customer sites, as soon as I was walking to the office, I use my third eye to do a 2-1. And I realized that after I started doing this, most of my meetings went smoothly. They are not, still confronting, even during a negotiation meeting. Yeah, of course, there's still topics needs to be presented, need to be discussed, challenges are brought up, but you'll find that the customer or the partners take it very positively. They are open for a negotiation. The environment are very harmonious, and they give a very objective suggestions, and they are open for suggestion for us, yeah. So it's very important before we get into the meeting, we kind of harmonize the environment, harmonize the room, or even harmonize the meeting place, yeah. So, in many cases I mentioned, right, since I started my Reiki practice, very, very seldom I get a very nasty or what you call confronting customers or partners that's trying to challenge me to to the to the what you call, they challenge it to their last call, right? Yeah. So this is my experience. And pandemic started, as we are all aware, since 2 years back. And since 2 years back, I've been having my calls, customer calls, or that through video calls. And as you can see, it's very challenging sometimes to understand how the customers are doing on the other side, because it's all video call. You don't see people face to face. And sometimes you won't know that they will get very frustrated with their previous call, or with their own personal environment, their housing area, or sometimes their country is having a lot of COVID issue, right? So what I do is, especially when I get into the call with the customer or the partners, right? As I'm starting the call, I also send a 2-1 symbol into the call. So I do a lot of video calls. So as they come into the call, I could see them in the face. Sometimes they do not switch on the video, but I still draw it with the third eye, Reiki, and then I activate it with Chakra, and then and you see that most of the calls get very how to say, very convincing, and also in a very calmly manner. Yeah. And it's been good. I've been using this many times, especially during the important calls, when I'm having it with the customer. Yeah, and it works very well for me for the last 2 years. Yeah. The other, oh yes, and the other than the office work with the customer, with the partners, right? From a personal perspective, I also use 2-in-1 a lot, especially when I'm doing my personal hiking. So I do a lot of hikings with my girls, especially. And as we walk up the hill, sometimes when you go to the hiking, and then you feel a bit worried, and sometimes you hear all these different, they always call it entity in the hill, or that, right? So what I do is, as I enter the trail, I will draw using my hand a big symbol, Seiki, symbol 2, and then chant it 3 times, Seiki, and then activate it again with symbol 1, and then and I spread it around the trail. Yeah. So after a few minutes walk, if I feel that I need to do it again, I continue to draw this the 2-1, and then I of course activate with the 1, and then get it spread out again. And many times my hike is comfortable. I feel very safe, and even my girls feel kind of comfortable. Yeah. But there was one of the hike that I went, and I must have forgotten. So I went up, and I have forgotten to do this 2-1. And this particular hike, as I came down, I kind of sleep a bit and bump and sit, kind of hit my bum. Basically sleep and then sit on my, it was nothing major. I hit on my tailbone a bit, but not severely painful. But then I recall that was one of the trips that I did not do a 2-1. So yeah, believe it or not, when I send a symbol 2-1, it definitely helps, right? Yeah. And also during this hike, you will see that some of these hills, there's a lot of dogs that's along the trail, and then especially my youngest daughter is not very comfortable with dog coming around her, and you see that I'm using a 2-1 to kind of harmonize and also communication. So later I talk about it, but I use 2-1 even onto the dogs to make the environment piece kind of calming for them, and then also communicate with them. Yeah, I'll talk about that later. Yeah, that's another usage on the 2-1. Yeah, and 2-1 is also very useful when I drive out to using my car to go from my house to another destination, and I do it. It's like a muscle memory for me. As soon as I sit on bird in the car, I will do my 2-1 to kind of protect the car and protect my journey. Yeah, and as I drive out, I also do a 2-1 to have a safe journey, to protect my journey basically. And after that, as I walk, I also do a 1. So the 2-1 was to protect and to activate my symbol 2 to kind of have a harmonious and a safe journey. And then when I along the way I do a 1, basically to clear my traffic. Yeah, I spoke about it in the previous call, in the previous session, right? So yeah, so I do a 2-1 and then a 1 again. Yeah. So this is how I use it, and I do it every time I get into the car. So it's like it's sitting in my subconscious mind now. I don't even have to remember it. It's just as soon as I hop on the car and then my hand will start moving. Sometimes I use my third eye, but I typically like to use my hand when I'm driving. Yeah. And the other one is also let me think. Oh yes, the other one is also to protect valuables. So whenever I get out for my travel, I actually, this one I started not long ago because pandemic, and then I have not really been traveling until recently, when after the pandemic, when it started. I mean, when the travel interstates has been allowed. So when I started traveling to KL, to Cameron for my personal break, all that, what I did is when I leave my house, which I felt not comfortable because I'm not sure why I not felt comfortable. So then it came to my mind. What I did was I drew the seheke. I basically drew a seheke symbol, a small little symbol, and then on top of it, I drew a chakra on top of it. So it will become like the image of seheke, the symbol 2, and then 1 of this on top of it. So it kind of overlap the 2 image on a sticker or on a paper, and then I stick it on the door. Yeah, I stick it on the door, my main door, my back door, my side door, my balcony, all that. I stick it, and then as I drive out, I feel so peaceful. It's like I feel that my house is kind of protected, right? Yeah. So and after the first time I did it, every time now I leave my house, I do it, and you could see that I could feel so comfortable, right? Very comfortable as I drive out from my house, and when I came back, I feel during the journey or during the travel, when I'm not around a couple of days, I feel so peaceful. So it's very good to protect your house when you leave, when you go out and for your journey, right? Yeah. So again, what it meant is you imagine you drive. So it can be a small paper or big paper. You draw this symbol, seheke, and then you chant 3 times, and then you draw seheke overlapping on top of it. So you won't see a very clear image because it's kind of overlapping it, but you can stick it on the door. Yeah. And I also do the same now. All my bags, mainly the handbags. I have it a small little card, and then I draw the seheke, and then chakra to activate it, and then I keep this card, and it's a small card. I keep it in my bag, actually to protect my handbag. So that this is also one of the way to protect your valuable stuff. And same goes any part of your house. If you really have valuable things that you think you want to do protection from anyone, you just do seheke, and then a symbol 2, and then chakra as a symbol 1, and you can draw it in a sticker and then stick it on the compartment, or stick it on the box, or stick it on the valuables that you want to protect. That's what I could think of from a protection perspective. And maybe the next usage that I want to share is symbol 2 also relates to intuition and memory. Yeah, this is also very interesting. So again, also we are using it as 2-1. You have to use the 1 to activate the symbol 2. So in the intuition and memory, right? So for example, if we have some lost items, or it could be what you call, it could be anything, could be something valuable, it could be something that non-value but very dear to you or very important to you, that you really want to look for it and you kind of lost it. So what you do is you either put an image, that means for example you put the image, you visualize the article, if you don't have it, or sometimes you could even have a photo or the image, physical photo of it, you can look at it and then you send a symbol 2-1. So not send, you draw the symbol 2-1, of course, and then chant it 3 times, sege sege, and activate it with your symbol 1. And then you'll find that it comes out 9 out of 10 times. I did it, and many times actually it pops out. So I've done it many times. So there was once, the first time when I started doing it, was I misplaced my credit card. I couldn't find my credit card for whatever reason. I'm not sure where I placed my credit card. So I was looking high and low for it, and then it was, I think I left it, I couldn't find for a day, or it could be a day or 2. And then suddenly this 2-1 symbol came into my mind, right? So I just visualize my credit card, and then I do a 2-1 into the credit card. I just imagine the credit card, my credit card, and then I put a symbol 2-1, and then just within few minutes, I'm not sure how, subconsciously it drew me to my handbag, and I found my credit card just stuck at the corner of my handbag. And actually the day before, and just in the morning, I was looking at the handbag at every corner, I couldn't find, so it was stuck at one corner of the bag. So I found it just within few minutes, or I would say few minutes. Yeah, so it's quite amazing. Since then, right, anytime and I forget any stuff, right, I will do my symbol. I misplaced my handphone, my spectacles, and many things, many things. I think that's why many things, 10 out of 9 times I found. I mean, so far only once I still couldn't find one bag that the bag, I'm not sure, I think it must have misplaced or taken somewhere. So there's only one so far that I sent a symbol, I couldn't find it. And there's another incident which is very damn funny. It's really funny, okay? So there's this royalty card for a Japanese restaurant. So my husband, when we were at the restaurant, as we were about to pay for the food, so everyone was looking at me, where's the loyalty card, right? So then I said, oh, it's not with me. But my husband and my 2 daughters insisted that I kept the card. I kept the royalty card. It's like those royalty Japanese. And then we of course I couldn't find it at the restaurant, and then all of us were so disappointed because we couldn't get the discount of 10%, right? So as I came back, I searched my bag and searched, and it's many times I couldn't find, and I even draw the symbol, to the card, and I still couldn't find it, So I thought I must have dropped it somewhere on that, right? And when I came back, I think I drew it for 1-2 days. I still couldn't find, and then I just left it. And then a month later, my daughter came shouting. I was at the ground floor, and she was and then she was shouting from the top floor. Mom, I found the card. I said, what card? The card that we kind of not accuse but blame it to you that you're keeping it and then you lost it, right? Actually, it's in her bag, okay? She was keeping it and she didn't realize. And then, of course, obviously, as I was doing the 2-1, right, I always cannot find it because it's not in my bag. It's not within it's not within my it's not me keeping it. So obviously, however I do it, I cannot find, right? And we were laughing over it for days. Up to today, we still laugh over this incident. So it's true, if I'm not holding it, whatever 2-1 that I do, I will never find it, right? So yeah, that was a very funny incident that happened. Yeah. And it's not only about it's not only about looking for your missing items or physical items, right? You can even, when you forget the name of the person, you can even visualize two things. You can visualize the person face. If you can, I mean, it's sometimes you feel, and then you do a 2-1, and then the name will pop up. This I do it many times too, right? And especially for me, right, I interact with so many people, customer, clients, partner, right? Many times there's so many, I have like thousands over of contacts in my phone, right? And I meet thousands of people over the 20 years of me working. Sometimes the names also I can't even recall some of the names. So when and I look at the face, or sometimes when the call comes in, I quickly do a 2-1, and then and then many times, like I say, 8, maybe this is 8 out of 10, the names will pop up. Even I can't remember the full name, at least I can remember the first name. Yeah, this is also a very commonly used 2-1 symbol that I'm using. Yeah. The other usage of 2-1 is also, I also use it, not as often, but I do use it for my medical checkup, like diagnosis, or that when I go for my medical checkup, so whenever I get in, before I do my sending, which I'm not going to talk about sending on this trip. I do a sending for a good outcome of my test result. But as I was doing the testing, and then as I was talking to the doctor, and then we are taking all the details, and also my sampling, right? I also use my third eye to draw on all my test sample, test sample, blood sample, all that, and do 2-1 into that, to make sure that there's no, to minimize any error on the testing. Of course, I wanted all the positive results, right? But it's also a good way to make sure that they don't miss out anything, and then they also don't make any error, whether be it's going to be a positive or negative result, right? To make sure that the tests are done correctly, following the right procedure, all that. So yeah, I think it's very good to do that. And every time I get to do my medical check or any check, I will do a 2-1 to get a good results. I mean, as accurate result as possible for my test. Yeah. And the other 2-1, which is also very good, is for people that are in a very creative career or hobbies. We call it a creativity enhancer. I'm not very much onto that, like paintings on, paintings, music, all that. Yeah. So people onto that hobby or that career, sometimes when you want to do a paint, before you start your painting, you draw a 2-1 onto the canvas. You see a very it brings a different, it enhances your creativity. So for me, what I do is I use the 2-1 very much on my emails. Sometimes my emails, when I lose train of, I kind of lose ideas of what to write or what to present. I will do a 2-1. And my assignment, Reiki assignment, right? Do a 2-1 on the computer, as I was looking for ideas, or looking for flow of how I want to carry on my session, my discussion. I use the 2-1, and you find that ideas will pop up. Yeah. This is 2-1 is also what we call it, the creative enhancer, right? Yeah. 2-1 is also very useful for communication, and we use it to communicate with babies, animals, plants, and usually we use the third eye to communicate with them through. That means third eye to do a drawing, 2-1 into the third eye, and then we can start communicating. So so far, for the past 2-3 years, not much chances for me to see babies, but yeah, but it'll be good to do with babies. But animal, yes, like I mentioned just now during my hike, I do a lot of the 2-1 to the dogs, so that I tell them that the communications I'm taking a hike with my daughters, give us a kind of like understanding that we are just here for the hike, for our comfort high, so kind of calm the environment, and then kind of tell them that not to be too aggressive, we are just passing, there's nothing, not intruding their space, yeah. So you see that nowadays my daughter also feel very comfortable, especially my youngest one, yeah, no problem with the dogs anymore, yeah. And then yeah, and also this communication is also we also do it with the coma patient. Personally, this coma patient, I haven't done it before, but I know I've learned it from reading and also from communication with my Reiki master. We also can use 2-1 to communicate with people in the hospital when they're in coma, kind of to communicate and tell them what you want to tell them, better be it if they are to give them comfort, peace, and also sometimes to tell them give them information around the family around them, waiting for them, or we are in a good position. And sometimes it's also good to give the coma patient to understand that it's okay for them, to let go things that they need to let go. Yeah. Also to tell them to let go whether there's things that's holding them back. It's not that we ask them to die or to leave this world, right? But sometimes to give them the peace of mind that things are doing okay, they can let go whatever that they're holding on. Yeah. This is also a good symbol to use to communicate with people in or coma patient. Yeah. It's also a very powerful tools to use during meditation. Yeah. So I've been doing meditation for 4, 5 years, 6 years, many years, and as if you are meditators, you meditate often, you know that sometimes it takes a while to get into the meditative stage. You feel that is how to put it is sometimes there's a lot of monkey mind and jumping around, so or there's a lot of challenges in your day work or issue, and then when you start wanting to go into meditation, right, your mind are disturbed, so and you could not focus, and then it takes a while, very long time for you to get into a meditative state. So what you do is as you sit down, when you plan to get into the meditation, right, you can do a 2-1 on the so you write you kind of draw 2-1 Seiki, and then you activate it with chakra ray. So you write 2-1 onto the crown, and then you just imagine the symbol and the lights sinking into your whole body, right? And then just go and then spread around the room, and then you'll realize that you get into the meditative stage much easier and faster. Yeah. Try that. Yeah, I tried many times, and then I find it's very it's very useful for me. Yeah. And since I feel it, the difference is before I already start meditation before I practice Reiki. So once I started Reiki, and then I use Reiki together in meditation, yes, it's a lot of difference and a lot of improvement during the meditation. Yeah. And you also can use 2-1 for grounding. So we can ground on our. You can hold the feet, and then you can do a 2-1 on the feet. So you can kind of do grounding with 2-1 when you need to do grounding. And it's also good when sometimes when you do travel, you can draw at the back at your feet, bottom of the feet. You can have a non-toxic pen to draw the symbol Seike Seike and chant 3 times, and then and then also draw the symbol 1, Shokure Shokure Shokure, and then yeah, put it on the bottom of it for a safe travel. Yeah, you can do it whenever you are traveling, and you realize that yeah, it's a good, it's a good protection for yourself during the travel. And oh yes, the other one is, remember when we are doing self-healing, when we do self-healing for ourselves and we do self-healing for others, and as we were doing, when we start, of course we start inviting Reiki, and then we start putting our hands Reiki, and then we start putting hand to start treating ourselves, others. So as we move our hand along the 12 body position, or any position if you are doing Rijiho, at the back of your thumb, you can actually do it frequent, or as and when you feel like it, to draw a 2-1 onto the back of your hand. So meaning that as you put your hand there, you draw a 2-1, and then you chant 3 times, right? 2-1, and then as you do healing, you do a 2-1. It's also help to do a emotional healing to the person, and also to yourself. So I do it often, right? As I'm doing my self-healing, I will draw a 2-1 into my body, and then I imagine that on top of doing healing, physical healing, I also get an emotional feeling from this symbol enhancer. Yeah. And 2-1 is actually, like I mentioned, like at the symbol level, 2-1 is very related to your emotional healing, and is you can, example, sometimes when you're stressed of work, I do that also very often. When you get stressed with the call, you can close your eyes, and then you can actually put 2-1 onto your top of the chakra, the crown chakra, example this, and then you just relax, just relax, and imagine, draw a 2-1 at the back of the hand, or you can do a 2-1 here, and then Seike Seike, Shokure Shokure, and then you just let it rest. It's very calm, So this is also one area to kind of distress, get off the stress from us. Yeah, one could be. And you can also this is also one example, one sample that you can kind of demonstrate to people, right? When people are stressed, you can, let me give you some energy. Let them close their eyes, and then put it on the head, and then you draw it not onto the head, but people that has not learned the symbol, or they have not been initiated with symbol, you don't draw the symbol on their body, but instead you draw at the back of your hand, and then give the energy into that. And try it with your friends, with your family, and then you will realize that they will be very happy, and then they'll feel very peaceful with their, with the they can get off with their stress, right? Yeah. And the other one is, oh yes, I forgotten one. Yeah. The other one is Seike. Remember I was telling you how to use the two in one, the 2 symbol, right? It's always end with 2-1. And I mentioned right earlier of the call is there's one time, there's one particular usage that you only use the symbol 2 and doesn't go with the 1. And this is where Seike, or the symbol 2, is has affinity with the solar plexus. So where the position of the solar plexus is about 3 fingers or 2-3 inches above your belly button. Okay, that's where the solar plexus chakra is. Okay, So Seiheke with symbol 2 has affinity with that. And how we use it is we draw this we draw the Seiheke onto this solar plexus. You can just draw it, but if you want it to have a longer effect, you can use again non-toxic pen and draw it onto the solar plexus location, and then you chant it 3 times, Seiheke Seiheke, and this one do not use activation. Okay, so when you draw it, this is to protect us from energy vampire. Okay, and to help us kind of what we call it, digest life more efficiently. Yeah. So basically, what is energy vampire? Energy vampire are people that people drawing energy from you. So it could be friends, it could be enemy, it could be in-laws. As long as those people that the more you speak to them or to talk to them, you feel very tired. It's like very energy draining. Like you sit there after a 5-10 minutes, you feel like you're so drained out. You feel that they're draining your energy. After the talk with them or after a call with them, you feel so tired, right? So these are what we call the energy vampire. So to protect ourselves from them, you draw this symbol into them. And why sometimes it's not that every time we can run away from this energy vampire. Sometimes some friends they do, or in-laws, that you can be shutting yourself out from meeting the in-laws, right? So you feel that okay, they'll be there to the meeting with the in-laws will happen, right? So you just draw it. Yeah. Feel that your energy, it is a lot of difference. And sometimes you have to go in certain meetings with certain people. That it's very energy draining. You draw it so that they don't suck your energy. Or sometimes a friend call you and it has so much trouble. So that the trouble is going to the person, his or her personality going to drain you. You also can draw it, protect yourself from the energy being drained. But you also have to be there to be a listener, to show empathy, to have empathy with the person. You still have to do it, but this will help us to kind of protect us and block the energy vampire from taking the energy out from us. Yeah. So this is another usage, another tool which again also I find is very, very useful. Yeah. And also just to continue, from the drawing itself, when you draw the Seiheke, right? When you draw Seiheke, like I mentioned just now, if you look at the symbol again, it's this way, right? Yeah, you can also draw it this way or draw it this way. So for example, right, when you're drawing when you're looking down and then you want to draw it on your example, just like I mentioned about the drawing at your solar plexus. So you can even draw it this drawing down. Yeah. So it can be, it can be like upright in your body this way, it can be this way, or it can be this way. So I hope you understand what I mean. Yeah. So the position, this position is okay. The position of upside down, or side, or upright is okay as long as the stroke is correct, and also the direction. Yeah. Next I'll be talking about Seiheke or symbol 3 treatment, right? So symbol 3 treatment is actually a very powerful tools that is related to emotional disorder, phobias, depression, severe depression, and things related to emotion and mind, right? Yeah. So by using the symbol 2, the emotional part I mentioned right earlier also, it can be addressed, and often we use a symbol 2 for emotional healing. Yeah. So one of the way is like I mentioned just now, right? I think repeating myself. Sometimes you're stressed, you can do it, and then imagine it sinking. The energy and the sinking. You do it 2-1, and then sinking into your and your body, and then you can do it 2 or 3 times. and a couple of minutes break, and then I'll move on to talking about more detail into how we do mental and emotional treatment. Yeah. I'm going to continue my session talking about the mental and emotional treatment using the symbol Seheke. Yeah. So, and this treatment, we call it the mental and emotional treatment, is very effective. Like I mentioned earlier, that is mainly for people who has suffer from phobia, stress, panic attack, depression, all that, right? So it's very related to the emotional level, yeah. And the duration of this treatment is about not more than 10 minutes, so you can do between 5 to 10 minutes, but make sure that's not more. And for the best result to have the session is to do it continuously for 6 days. So ideally you can do it 6 days for 10 minutes, not more than 10 minutes. And if you happen to cannot make it for certain days when you're doing treatment for others, right, they have to miss it, we can do it through standing, but I think I'll talk about it on the next session. But basically, ideally, you do it continuously, consecutively for 6 days, yeah. And the reason why this treatment is really good from emotional level is basically often people have issue that block emotionally at the mind, and then when we do this treatment, right, it brings the blockage, or it brings the issue from the subconscious mind to the conscious plane. Basically, sometimes certain issue that is hidden at the back of your subconscious mind, you are not aware of it, and then it is stress, and it creates all the stress and the discomfort. And when you bring it up to the conscious mind or conscious plane, you can feel the pain and you're aware of it, and then you can address it at the conscious plane. So that is where this treatment is meant for. And then by the time you bring it to the conscious plane, you're able to let it go. You know, issue or pain or challenges, you're able to let it go when you're aware of it. So many times you're not able to let go because you are not aware of it, and it sits on the subconscious mind. Yeah. So this is a very good treatment. It's not a treatment that you do it often, you know, and you will know when you need to, using our gut feel and our intuition, we know when to treat it. And this treatment, you can actually do it together with the full body treatment. That means after you do a whole body treatment, you can do it as an extra, or you can also run it independently. And sometimes you also can use it, for example, many times when you do treatment for for the receiver, and after many times you still feel that the pain, the physical pain, doesn't go away, and you suspect sometimes that it sits at emotional level. So then you can use this treatment to try to address the emotional level for the receiver. You know, so certain issues, sometimes you do certain treatment for many times already, and then they cannot get it done, right? So for my example, for myself, before I get into explaining how to do this treatment, for example, at myself, at one time I was having a very bad pain on my left hip, and I was doing self-treatment and then targeted treatment for this self-treatment, and for weeks, you know, the pain doesn't go away, or it went away for a while and it come back, you know. So, and I think I discussed it with my masters, and then I decided to do this mental emotional treatment on myself, and I did it for 6 continuous days. So the first day when I did it, as I recall, I did not feel anything about the I don't have any feeling. It's just normal. And then second day when I did this mental treatment, I saw an image as I was doing during the 5-10 minutes treatment. I saw an image of a person was how to say, have a very long spear and kind of struck it into my left hip, right? So it was like a black shadow, it's a shadow, but although I don't see the image, so I continuously doing for the for the rest of the 6 days. Of course, I don't see it, but as after the third day, I actually did discuss it with my master, and he actually asked me to to try to get the image out. That means to do to try to imagine to the situation and try to send it to send the symbol to one to get the image out. But I don't seem to be getting an image. But then I just let it go. But after the 6-day treatment, after this, the pain slowly go away. And I can tell you, I did this about like a year or 2 years ago, and up to the day, I no longer have my hip, the piercing pain on my left hip anymore. So you can imagine, right? So it means that this pain was not physical; it was at the subconscious mind, or it could be a present or past life. I don't know when it happened, but it was something piercing into my it was a person put like a very big spear, and then pierce it in, kind of step it into my left hip. Yeah, so I no longer have the pain anymore. So this is one of the mental emotional treatment that it actually took me to it kind of bring it from my subconscious mind to my conscious mind. Yeah, example of that. So okay, so maybe now let me just run through with you how we do the mental and emotional treatment to others, right? So the first part, I just give you an example, or I walk through the procedure of how we do treatment to mental treatment to others. So first, you imagine the recipient sitting in front of me. So recipient. So usually same thing. What I do is I will kind of stand behind the recipient and ask them to relax and close the eyes. Yeah, and then first I ground myself, and then center myself and call the Reiki in, and imagine the lights coming in to my crown chakra, to my heart chakra, and gets to my palm, and then I will stroke the aura of the three times of the recipient, and then I will put the hand on the shoulder first of the recipient to show my presence, and then kind of telling the recipient that I'm going to start the mental emotional treatment, right? And then first I'll keep my left palm onto the shoulder, and then I'll put my right hand onto the medulla oblongata, right? Oblongata is actually that one point at the back of our you can feel a point at the back of our skull, and then if you look at it, if you tilt your head, it will be like it gets through to the eye level. So it's like a straight line. It's like a straight line to our third eye. Yeah. So at this medulla oblongata, right? You put the right arm at the back of the recipient, and then you kind of draw at the back of your palm, you draw a 1-2-1. So you draw a shokere, you draw it, and then chant shokere, and then you draw seike, and then you mention it 3 times, and then you draw again shokere, yeah. So meaning you do a 1-2-1 symbol, okay. So then you imagine the lights getting into the medulla oblongata, and then you also close your eyes and say the name 3 times, the recipient name 3 times in our mind, and mentally you get in touch with the higher self, and then ask for the permission, all in the mind, ask for the permission to perform this treatment to the recipient. Yeah. And then you wait for a while, And then if you feel that you get the permission, you're comfortable, you know, then you start the treatment. If you feel there's a blockage, sometimes your hand are cold, and then you feel that you're not getting the promotion, the permission, you just put your hand on the shoulder and then say thank you, and then you just ground yourself and then tell the recipient it's not a good time to do it. But if you get the permission, you feel that permission is given, so now you move on to the right side of the recipient, and then the left arm you put to the back of the medulla oblongata, yeah, and then the right side you put on the third eye, yeah. So when you put on the third eye, you just imagine there is a straight line between the medulla together with the third eye, right? You can feel, you can imagine there's a third eye that it gets through, right? And then once the head of the third eye and then the medulla oblongata, and then you start imagine the lights getting through, and then you already get the permission to start the treatment. So remember, the treatment not more than 10 minutes. So like I mentioned just now, the oblong, the left hand on the oblong, the medulla oblongata, and then the right hand on the third eye, right? So at the back of the right palm, again, you do seike, 3 times, chant it 3 times, and shokere, kind of to activate it, right? To fix it, right? And then you mentally mention it, may the energy be used for their highest good. Yeah? This is a protection protection phrase to make sure that it is for their highest good, right? Yeah. And then you allow the energy, you just imagine the energy, circulate from the crown chakra, and then getting, from the, from yourself to them, and then you can just imagine the energy getting in from their third eye to the, getting through to their medulla. Yeah. So stay in the position like I mentioned, not more than 10 minutes, and then once it reach about 10 minutes, you put your hand onto the receiver back, just to make them comfortable, and then you move back and then stroke the aura 3 times, and then you thank the receiver with the thoughts, and thank Reiki, and then you start grounding yourself. And then you draw, because this is a mental treatment, right? So basically, you have to draw the seike, that means to do clearance, seike, both palm, and then you rub it and blow it to the ground. Basically, if whatever negative energy that is coming out or vibes coming out from this treatment, you actually blow it to the ground and use the Mother Earth to transform the negative energy or the old negative vibes into the ground, right? Yeah, so this is what we do. And then after the grounding, and for us, it would be good also, this is a good time also to do dry bathing, to disconnect ourselves from any negative energy that's coming out from this treatment. Yeah, you can, and optional, you can wash your hand if you want, or if you don't want, it's okay. And like I mentioned, right, you can do this by a standalone, that means by itself, or you can actually work together or do it together with the self-treatment. Yeah, that means after you do 1 hour self-treatment, and you can do it. And personally, I won't advise to immediately do it, this mental treatment for the first timer recipient. So that when people reach out to us who had some Reiki treatment, right, me myself, I won't jump into this treatment. I will do the basics 12 body position first, and then I'll see how it goes. If there is a calling or my gut feel says that this mental treatment is required, then I will do this mental treatment. Yeah. And if you were to do this mental treatment for for ourself, that means self-treatment, is the same position, like it's the same way of doing, except there's no requirement for the soothing of the aura. Yeah, but the whole procedure is the same, where you start by using your left or the right hand, actually the right hand, to do the and ask for the permission first. Yeah, and then you can feel whether it's a permission that you can do the treatment or not. Yeah, and then repeat of what I mentioned just now. Yeah. So this is the mental. This is the what we call it, the mental emotional treatment, and it has great affinity, like I said, with the symbol 2, and we use this mainly to help people. Example, right? This treatment is, like I mentioned just now earlier, people onto the stress, people have emotional issue, or people got under depression, or there's some issue or physical issue, mental issue that cannot be addressed by the physical treatment, yeah, or our hand 12 position treatment, right? And the same issue keep on popping up. This is also a good way to do the emotional healing. Yeah, I think that's about it for my session for the session 11, and I hope y'all enjoy and this session, and y'all benefit from what I have gone through. Thank you, and look forward to see you for my final and last session, which is the session 12. Thank you.